From Chaplin's silent jests to the immersive realms of Avatar, cinema leaped across a century. Like McConaughey peering into the black hole, we now gaze into the future, where AI Chaplin's silent jests to the immersive realms of Avatar, cinema leaped across a century. Like McConaughey peering into the black hole, we now gaze into the future, where AI reshapes film's very essence. Tyler Perry halted his $800 million project, shocked by AI's potential to redefine filmmaking after witnessing OpenAI's Sora video generation wizardry. He stated, "This will touch every corner of our industry." What's your corner? Only months ago, AI's attempt at Will Smith eating spaghetti was laughable. Now, with just a few keystrokes, marvel at its evolution. A futuristic Lagos, a disco-dancing kangaroo, an underwater New York, serene, exotic nature scenes, all from simple text prompts. No actors, cameras, sets, producers, or directors, just the alchemy of text and algorithms. It's mind-blowing to think this is the baseline and how fast it will progress from here. Are you ready? AI is reshaping filmmaking. For writers, endless ideas and instant scripts. Producers streamline logistics in minutes. Directors visualize scenes and shots instantly. And editors weave magic seamlessly with a few keystrokes. Every filmmaking role is getting an AI makeover. In our filmmaking workshop, Experience AI's transformative power. See the practical applications of AI, offering real-world game-changing skills with the latest AI tools, empowering your filmmaking journey. The future of filmmaking is now. Join the AI Filmmaking Workshop. Seize the chance to lead in the cinematic revolution from ideation to distribution, in person and virtually, on April 5th and 6th from JAMPRO headquarters in Kingston, Jamaica. Leap ahead or be history. Register today at aifilmworkshop.com to secure your seat and shape the film industry's tomorrow. Limited spaces available.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for this well-anticipated conversation with these amazing folks who are involved in AI and the filmmaking industry. My name is Shauna Farrell. I will be guiding the proceedings for the rest of the evening, wherever you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we look forward to your questions or your comments. Feel free to drop it in the chat on whichever platform you're joining, whether it is via YouTube or it is on Facebook Live, or if it is on another platform. Welcome. All right, so let's just dive right into it. You know, we're talking about AI and funding Jamaican films in particular. Just in case you were confused, the Jamaican flag is right behind me. And just for the record, everybody on the panel is a Jamaican. And we're all working either in AI or in the filmmaking industry or both. And as it is happening now, whether we like it or not, if you're in filmmaking, you're going to have to figure out how to work in both industries. So allow me to introduce our very esteemed panel. We'll start with Charles Smart. He is AI and data strategist, and he is CEO and co-founder of MetAIBlock. Hello, Charles. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
Not a problem. My absolute pleasure. Justine Henzell is a member of the Oversight Committee for the Jamaica Screen Development Initiative, which we'll tell you more about. She's also a film producer. Hi, Justine. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Awesome sauce. Oh my God, did I just say awesome sauce? All right. Wentworth Kelly is a producer, cinematographer, and a board member for the Jamaica Film and TV Association, JAFTA. Welcome, Wentworth. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, Wentworth is moving from set to a stationary location. And again, we're all actually physically working in the industry. So, you know, happy to see that you're busy, Wentworth. Kevin Jackson is the president of the Jamaica Animation Nation Association, otherwise called JAN. Kevin, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. Kevin is also a stunt coordinator and a director. We worked on a project recently. Shauna Chin is an actress and an activist, but Shauna does so many other things. But tonight we'll just stick her in that corner. Is that all right, Shauna? Are you there?
That's all right. That's all right.
All right. Also on the panel, we have Juliet Bodley, aka Julie Mango. Sorry for calling out the government name, Julie Mango. Welcome. She's a content creator and a mental health advocate. Thanks for joining us, Julie.
Thanks for having me, Sharonda.
Just to make sure we can hear you. All right. Lovely. Andre Winter is a director and a cinematographer. He's currently in Atlanta. Welcome, Andre. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Dr. Andre Williams, he is a movie score composer in this moment and many other things in other moments. Andre, thank you for joining us. We will call you Dr. Andre so we don't confuse you and Andre Winter. All right, how is that? Not seeing you, Andre. Take a moment and sort that out. And Mike Johns. Mike is a futurist and founder at Digital Mind State. Thank you so much, Mike, for being a part of this panel. There you are. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have a very, very esteemed set of Jamaicans on the panel with us tonight. And I'm as proud as I am tonight as I am when you're seeing them around the Olympics. Because say, you know, say, but it was a game or it was a park. So welcome. All right. So let's dive right in and talk a little bit about the video that we just saw. Now, whilst I'm here in my capacity as a host, I'm also a film and TV producer as well as an actress. And I ain't gonna lie, I tell you something. When we hear about this hey hi something, right? I freaked the hell out. And why did I freak out? Because I recognized that, well, what was in my mind is the computers are coming to take our jobs. And I don't think I was lying. So, like most other people within this industry, I was really very scared. And that happened for a while until I started having conversations with folks like Charles, who is the AI strategist, who said, don't be afraid so much as try to learn the technology and recognize how the technology can help you to do what it is you do instead of being afraid of it. But I know that I'm not just speaking for myself. So I'll toss it out there. And any one of you feel free to jump in at first to say, what was your first reaction when you recognized that AI was creeping into your industry? Go ahead, Mike.
I want to set the record straight first by saying AI will not take your job. AI will usher in new jobs. And that's a myth that we have out there, especially based on education level that's taking place from Jamaica to the US over there in the UK. Robots will not take your job. They will usher in new jobs. And really AI to me is this game of, do you want to be ordinary or do you want to be extraordinary? Yeah.
That's all like I should like a bop bop. Okay.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Yes. So let's use that to set the tempo straight. I work, for my company, Digital Mind State, we're all about humanizing technology into everyday life. I'm not sure if anybody on this call even know what a futurist is, so I want to set the record straight live from LA. Using data to charter unknown territory. And we saw that during the pandemic when companies had to navigate and make the pivot, right? During COVID, we had the contactless with the cash, the hotel industry, all industries were affected. Look at a company named like Digital Mind State. So we got the calls to how do we navigate into this? So I love when Shauna brought me to this topic, and I want to make sure for everyone in Jamaica, we understand full force. It's all about making the leap from ordinary to extraordinary.
Yeah, one of the things I think in what you just talked about just now is that it's going to really level the playing field, right? And ordinary is no longer going to be acceptable because the tools that people use to create things, especially in the film industry, are now going to be ubiquitously accessible to everyone, right? So if you are trying to do something, you literally are competing with a much bigger audience than you were in the past because it's just so much more accessible.
And that's a part of what is scary for me, I suppose, because there was a time when some of us had to go to film school, and most all of us on this call have either been to film school physically or we learn on the job. And now we're being put in a position with AI where somebody without that kind of knowledge or experience can sit in front of a computer, if you will, using the right AI technology and prompting it in the right way, and pretty much do almost anything that those of us who invested in a film school education can do. And that is the part that is a little racking for me. I'll ask Andre. I know that you recently completed your master's, so how do you feel about AI stepping into that space?
Right. AI stepping into the space, I completely agree with Mike. AI is just another tool. No reason to be scared of technology. I've seen a lot of filmmakers who aren't cinematographers, aren't producers, aren't writers, investing in their self and in their craft and becoming prompt engineers. Anybody can do it. It opens a lot of opportunities for people. And I look at it like this. If it takes 50 animators to animate something and now 3 people can do it, that means now that instead of 10 animations per year, it will be 100. So now that goes from that will multiply how many type more people. So there'll still be more jobs, more opportunities, more finished projects because of AI. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. The technology is nothing to be scared of. You can't pull the genie back in the bottle at this point. So you either adapt or get left behind, like every single technology before.
Yeah, I suppose that's and I'm going to be a little cynical. Bear with me. What I'm doing is I'm playing the advocate over here, if you will. But if we talk about it from the perspective of the performer, because I will freely and comfortably share this, Charles. When we were working on that video that you saw in the beginning, I had actually done a VO, an option for the voiceover, but Charles works through the night and he needed to make some edits, and I am fast asleep. So AI basically took my work and do the voiceover, and I don't hear the man and the something. Him not sound good like how me would and it sound, but him get me work. And guess what? It worked because we got the point. So it wasn't even so much about having somebody with a Jamaican accent or having somebody who could deliver with more cadence or blah, blah, blah. The fact is, this AI dude take when me work and him sound just fine. I wish I could have found him for strangling. So I'm going to ask Shauna, like you are over there in LA as an actress, what has the temperature been like over that side in terms of AI and the performer?
Thank you for the question. I've been sitting listening to everybody because it's always good to get everybody's opinion. And I completely agree with, Andre, with Mike, but even to you in an extent, because one of the things, Hollywood recently just came off of a huge, unprecedented strike. And everybody in Jamaica was like, okay, well, it doesn't really necessarily affect Jamaica. And I was like, no, this absolutely affects us because Hollywood wasn't just on strike for increased fees and residuals. We were also on strike because a huge portion that we could not get solidified with the production companies is the use of AI, particularly because one, like Sharando said, there is no use of where they're, actually cloning performers. Well, not cloning in the sense of I'm making a clone of a person, but in the sense of they are creating digital performers. And as a result, then what happens to persons who are not what they say above the line or who is not making the large amounts of money who you actually, pay to come and see their face? What about actors who are background talent, who are supportive talent, who are stand-ins and all these things? Where does that leave roles if the AI is able to do that? Just like Sharanda said, a stand-in, an AI stand-in, literally take our work.
And I want man to listen.
Yes. No. It's valid. It's absolutely valid. And so one of the things with the strike was not necessarily, it was trying to find a balance. So like what Mike said, yes, AI is here to support, but in the other sense, it's also from the human perspective, you can definitely see where the loophole can become blurred. And the strike was a very good example of performers standing up to say, all right, well, this is here to stay, but how do we manage that? And how do we make sure that we are protecting human performers?
So let me ask this question, and I think Charles or Mike can potentially answer this question. In terms of legislation and, the law, that side of it, where are we with that? And can I, as a performer, say, in my contract, for argument's sake, you can not reuse my likeness, or you can use my face but not my voice, or whatever, and I have a legal standing now, considering that it is quote unquote so easy to create not just a duplicate but maybe a better looking version of me, or a better sounding version of me? Where does that leave us as not just performers but as owners of IP? when it comes to legislation and AI?
Well, that's one of the things about AI right now is that they're still figuring it out, right? There is literally at this point no formal legislation or laws on the books to govern this, and the EU is leading the charter at this moment, trying to figure out what the AI Act is going to look like in just terms of what AI is and generative AI, because it's not just something that's affecting the film industry, but it's affecting every industry. And so there is very little concrete and guardrails put in place at the moment. And a lot of responsibility. Recently, the United States, the White House came out with policies for the federal agencies on how they can govern and what responsibilities that they're going to be placing on those agencies as oversight. But in the regular world where we all live, right? Companies and people that make film, or you work in an organization, there is nothing at the moment that governs that. And so the legislation, however, unfortunately, based on what is happening, is also leading in a direction that is going to favor capitalism. It's going to favor the more open approach to AI, so as not to restrict where and who is going to be able to access it and use it, and the potential. And I think out of those things, I know a lot of people are saying that it's not going to take your job. It's not going to take all of your jobs. It is going to create new jobs. But the reality of it is going to displace a lot of people within the film industry, simply because of the accessibility of the tools that can do the things that you as an actor or a screenwriter or a video editor or a score musician, you literally now are competing with technology that can probably do similar work to you. But I think at this stage that we are, the important thing is to not be afraid of it, is to get involved, to start using it, figure it out. And I think, Mike John mentioned it earlier, that look at it as something that you need to be a part of and adapt to the change that's happening instead of fighting and pushing back on it.
Andre, I think you want to go ahead, Shauna, go ahead.
Let me just piggyback on what he just said. There is actually, that's what I was just saying here in Hollywood specifically. That was the whole reason for the Hollywood strike. So we actually here in California, we have Assembly Bill 459 that's now in place specifically for exactly what you just said, in order to, particularly it has clause for actors who are able to rescind contracts. For example, there's a lot of vagueness in the AI contracts regarding perpetuity, use in perpetuity, use after death, and how does that affect actors' legacy. So, when we pass on and we go, how does our estate then use that AI? And so Assembly Bill 459 does address that, as well as in the actual SAG contract. So, everybody knows we're on strike forever, and we finally got to a place that we are now, open, and we have come to some resolution, but it's still a working, that particular AI, even though what it's called employment-based digital replica. And in that section of the contract, it discusses laws. And so if there is any country like Jamaica who want to put laws in place to protect their performers, Assembly Bill 459 and the employment-based digital replica in the SAG contract, those are excellent standpoints to start to look to see how you in your area can then, legitimize performers' work regarding AI.
Yeah, that was
Can
exactly.
I jump in afterwards?
Wentworth and Kevin.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the same.
Sorry, go ahead, Andre, and then John.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna.
then I'll pull the other guys in.
Thank you for clarifying that on the.
Oh, okay.
AMTP. Yeah.
let me know if I can jump in real quick.
Yeah, man, go ahead, Mike.
All right. So I like to say this: by 2030, let's say, let me see how it go. 60% of the jobs, I believe, the World Economic Forum report hasn't even been created by the year 2030. So when I hear what was posed, what do we do about protecting our IP and all this? Here's what I say for Jamaica: we have new jobs that haven't been created. And one of the things that I'm standing for is the fact that you don't even have to look for what America's doing or what Europe's doing. You now take that intel and figure out what Jamaica wants to do and create the standard of its own. The IP, the other thing that I would say with your IP is that the future of filming, now that I see it, and it's the same way with the music side, and I can make this correlation. In the near future, Shauna, the actress, will lease her IP out. She said the word cloning earlier, and I put something in the comment because cloning is happening. The first wave of that is name, image, and likeness. And you could best believe, yes, Hollywood does have a plan 15, 20 years out. One of my partners is a futurist for Paramount, so I'm well connected with seeing how we could leverage your likeness and recreate characters using AI, voice, and image. But what I would say for Jamaica right now, in the next 2 years, we now need to be focusing. I think I heard one of the brothers say what the EU is doing, right? They were first at it. Asia became second. US really didn't have an approach, and I think it's still somewhat vague. I heard that word. It's a Band-Aid. It's still a lot of loopholes. That means we're still trying to figure everything out. And so what I would want for Jamaica is to be able to take this intel and create its own new norm. And I think we got some people in this group that can actually be seeding that. So one of the things is not just to have theory conversations, but afterwards, pen and paper, writing that down, or use your Chat GPT-4 and figure out new things that Jamaica's version of SAG can create. And this is the same thing I'm gonna say with the Nollywood, because we are all that we got. You understand that? Jollywood to Nollywood, that we're all that we got. So it's probably in our best interest. No one on this call had anything to do with AI. That's almost like an occult. In the old days of occult science, ancient knowledge from Egypt and all that, the new version of that is AI. So if we're not all the way indoctrinated with how to create the algorithm and all the AI functionality behind the scenes, then we should be able to create the parameters of how we want to move and how we want to have our IP shopped around. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, man, I'm in absolute full agreement with you. And I wanted to pull in Wentworth and Kevin on a conversation, that particular conversation, because Kevin is the president of JAN, Jamaica Animation Nation Association, and Wentworth is a board member of JAFTA, Jamaica Association, Jamaica Film and Television Association. So they too would be within the realms of the folks who are making these decisions and putting these things together. So I wanted to get their perspective as to how they see Jamaica being a part of this and how they view us actually making those kinds of changes or decisions for our local industry.
Well, if you'll allow me to go first, Wentworth, just piggybacking on what you guys said, AI is definitely a disruptor. It's going to disrupt every industry. And with any technology, new technology that disrupts an industry, there's going to be a very uneasy period. So there are going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be lost initially until people figure out how they want to use AI. And then when they do, you find that new jobs are created, like John says. The analogy I like to use is like the automotive industry. At one point in time, it would take like 30 men to make one car in a month. And then technology came in, robots started making the cars, people started losing jobs. But then eventually, because now you can create 100,000 cars in a month, that in and of itself, that economy of scale ended up requiring more human beings for other jobs, new jobs within the automotive industry. So I kind of see the same thing happening where for actors, for example, initially there's going to be a rough patch. But what you're going to find is that because more movies are being made, what might end up happening is whereas actors would probably go, all right, let me stand in line to be an extra, and hopefully if I get seen enough, I'll work my way up. You might have a bigger opportunity to have a speaking role or leading role because so much content is being created, and there are only so many actors, so they're going to have to pull in on them. With where Jamaica is concerned, especially where animation is concerned, one of our biggest challenges is competing with the global north. They have hundreds of animators to work on projects. They have access to millions of US dollars to work on a project. Whereas in Jamaica, we're looking at a few $1,000s to try and create, something equivalent with much less people, like 10 people, 15 people at max. And we don't have access to the same level equipment and training, etc. So it's very hard for us to compete. With AI, that's going to allow us to bridge that gap. We'll be able to create products that are on the same level or close enough to get us further in the door, because Jamaica doesn't have a shortage of stories. We don't have a shortage of ideas. We don't have a shortage of talent, but we have a shortage of everything else: the money, the distribution channels, the tools, the labor. So I see as something that can really, get us to that level that we need to get to. And let Wentworth jump in.
Yeah. So I listen to everybody. The biggest thing, there's some keywords you have to pay attention to when you consider AI. And the biggest word, as I had shared with Charles over the weekend, is capitalism. That is going to be the deciding factor for a lot of the use of AI. Now, another big problem for us here in Jamaica is when you're ignorant of something, and also because of the level of education is also going to be a deciding factor. And when I say a deciding factor, meaning how accepting will persons be of AI, right? And we are having a big problem already because, you have, for example, a song came out the other day and they used AI and then they added Movado's voice to the song. They added 4 other well-known artists' voice. They used the same thing and the thing, and the AI used the cadence and the vocal range of these artists, and so they did the singing, and everybody was like, no, this is worrying. So, of course, that opened a whole can of worms that I figure we'll touch on later on. But here's the upside of it, and this is the first thing about AI is that we have to start with education. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing we're going to have to really deal with. Educating persons. What is AI? How AI, how we're going to use it. What is its purpose? How can you use it in what you do? Now, I can say that in relation to filmmaking, I see where AI is going to help a lot of filmmakers here, because AI is trained on data that is already in existence, which means that you have script from very famous screenwriters, you have script from very famous directors that is there, and AI has access to it. And based on comparison, you may be able to upload your script and get proper feedback on your script. As proper feedback as you could if you could get your film to Christopher Nolan to read your script, but AI is able to do that right now. Yeah. And you are able to also understand, okay, how do I budget a film? AI can give you a proper solid breakdown. Break down my script for me. Does it make sense? You probably need to check this line here. And so the access that we didn't have before, now we have that access. Andre Winter spoke about having the ability to do animation. One of the things that holds us back is that we don't have enough animators. Yeah. But now there are these 5 services that I could list that are able to pull animation from live action videos, and you can attach that to a model, because there are persons here who are excellent 3D modelers. The deficiency we have is with animation. Right. That is not a problem anymore. What does that mean for the Jamaican film industry? So we have to help persons to understand that, hey, this is not something to be afraid of, right? And I don't want to speak. I mean, I don't want to call myself an AI and film evangelist, but because I use I use I use it so much I use AI in everything I do, from planning a production, to lighting a production, even coloring, and I'll touch on that a little more, just about my application and how I use it. But on the grander scheme of things, and especially with what is now happening in Jamaica, where we have this $1 billion allocated to the film industry, there's going to be a surplus of persons in Jamaica who want to take their screenwriting and also creating pitch decks and creating treatments to another level.
Yeah.
And we will not have access to the persons we would want to have access to. But guess what? The work that is already considered top notch is a data set that is used for training for AI. So the AI already knows all of this, and the AI will now say, okay, well, based on what you have here and based on what has worked for the many years, this is probably what you want to consider.
Yeah.
So we have to know that this is a tool, and it's not something we should be afraid of. I know this is going to go deep, so I don't want to say so much now, but I'm just saying that the first thing we have to address is, one, when it comes down to policy, it will come down to, persons like Shauna Chin fighting the system. They talk about being an activist and you're dealing with capitalism, because that's where it is, And again, there's a blurred line. And that's where the danger is. And education is going to be the thing that really fixes it for the bulk of the persons, especially in Jamaica. Education is the thing that's going to allow them to know that this is not a very bad
So
thing.
I'm hearing quite a bit here. That's interesting. And I will say I'm a little bit closer to the line of not being afraid, even though the man take from my work. But that one that burned me, I can't tell. But I'm a little closer to the brink of thinking that, this really can potentially enhance production, if we're talking about filmmaking in particular, and also to put us in a position where there is more work. I'm going to ask Julie, first of all, what is your concept or your understanding of AI, and also have you used it in creating the content that you create to make us laugh so very freaking hard?
So artificial intelligence has been around from Whoopi killed Philip, or before Whoopi would meet Philip to kill him. When we had Lotus 123 that took over from the typewriter, that was artificial intelligence. When the little pin in Microsoft Word used to come on and talk to you or come up with a notification, or if you spell the first spell check, that is artificial intelligence. All it means is that it is intelligence that is not human based, but it has to be inputted by a human. So AI is not a new thing. It's like most of the people don't realize that Wi-Fi stands for wireless frequency. If you ask a lot of young persons now, they don't know what Wi-Fi stands for. So from that standpoint, and knowing that AI has been around for a long time, it has been helping us a tremendous deal from a long time. So it is nothing to fear. It's actually something to hug up and look forward to what it can do. So that is my understanding of it. I was an engineer before I went into content creation, and usually we have a software that can design an entire building, a 50 multi-story building, a skyscraper called STAD Pro. Now, a human being would have to enter the parameters for the design in the program. And then the program, based on its artificial intelligence, can spit out hundreds of pages of design. But you know what has to happen before that design goes into the building stage? A human being, a man with a license, has to sign off on that design. So the checkpoints are still the same. We are still in control of what we are creating. So there is nothing to fear. There's only things to hug up. And I use AI every day in my content creation. I use a lot of software. I use a lot of apps, and especially when I'm doing mental health videos, I use ChatGPT a lot. And even WhatsApp has an AI chat. Like sometimes when we get lonely at nighttime, we look up the AI and say, hey, what's up? and it would say, hi, it doesn't call my name. Hi, how are you doing? How can I help? And I talk to the AI and I ask a question. So for my mental health videos, it can write an entire script, and all I do is I read it. Now, who has to fact check that script? Me, because I can't put foolishness out there. So it's not taking over from me, it's assisting me. So when I read it and I inject the little patwa, because AI don't catch patwa yet too well, and I inject the patwa in it,
It
then it
close door.
helps me. Yes, it helps me to create that video in, I kid you not, maybe 1/8 the time that it would take me to get all the information together, right? And there are times when I did the money video, that was AI, putting the dollar bills and putting my voice on the faces for the dollar bills. That was Avatarified. It's an app that I used. There was another video that I did where I put my picture, I uploaded it into my computer and made it become alive using an AI software. That was AI. That is something else. So for a content creator and for me, what I think about AI, I think it's marvelous, and I think it can only do good and create more jobs, create more opportunities for people.
Lovely. All right. Okay. All right. I don't feel so distressed yet. But just for the record, Julie, at night time, instead of a talk to WhatsApp, you can call me. Yeah. All right. So
My AI WhatsApp is a mail.
my
You can change my voice. Don't worry yourself.
Should I add that Sharonda, myself, and Julie are in a WhatsApp chat? And to as much as we talk, you can imagine that you need more talking, you need AI to talk to you more.
Listen, guys, AI can keep your company. Single ladies, hurt not.
All right, we'll talk too much about personal business now. Okay, let's pull it back. Let's pull it back. Next thing we'll start revealing nicknames. All right. So we've been talking quite a bit about different areas or different aspects of AI. And thank you for that point, Julie. A lot of people just know when we hear ChatGPT and then we see Sora, we go, have mercy, Percy. AI has arrived. But like you said, AI has been around for so very long and we've all been using it to our advantage. It's just that we never put that bigger emphasis on it. We never spoke so much about what it is and what it is doing. So I'm getting closer to that line. I want to pull Justine in. I think she just jumped off. She'll come back, I'm sure, because we're talking about film and how we can use AI to fund Jamaican films. So we have a general sense of, or a basic sense, if you will, of AI. But I want to talk to, let me talk to Andre first, then I come back to Charles, and then I go to Justine. Andre, do you use AI? Sorry, that is Dr. Andre. I don't want to confuse, you know. Do you use AI at all? Because your highlight on this call is that you produce music, you write score. So have you used AI at all? Any of that? Because I know that you're a purist. You've learned, to play the piano, to play all those instruments. So how do you draw that line between being that purist and wanting to use artificial intelligence to either enhance or to speed up the process of your creation?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, I've been listening to everybody's points, and yes, I am a purist. I go all the way back to playing piano for the, what do you call that thing? Royal Associated Boards of the Royal School of Music, London. And I mean, they wouldn't even allow you to play without having the sheet music in front of you. That's how far back I go in terms of being a purist. But I feel like there's some things that we need to differentiate when we're talking about providing music for film or film in general. One of the things I wanted us to consider is there's a difference between doing physical endeavors and doing spiritual endeavors. So we're talking about AI in filmmaking, but I don't view what we do as filmmaking. I view it as storytelling. So when you're telling a story, it's a whole lot different from making a film. And this is why, like Wentworth, like everybody has essentially said, I believe AI is going to be a tool not just for directors and producers like yourself, but also for musicians like myself. Because you can't fake the emotional impact that good music has on a film. I don't know how many of you have seen that meme circulating on social media where they play the exact same. Kevin, you sent it to me. They play the exact same video with happy music and then the exact same sequence with sad sounding music, and the emotional hit that you take is totally different. I just watched Leave the World Behind, I think it was on Netflix. And for the entire movie, the person who wrote the score was just stuck on this kind of suspense sound, suspense type chord progressions. And so even though they were just sitting and chatting in a living room, you always felt on the edge of your seat. So for me, I still don't use AI for my music. So I'll just put that out there. I really don't care. I don't use it, but I'm also not afraid of what it's potentially going to do, because there's a software called Scalar that gives you suggested chord progressions that you could use next. So you say, boy, I need a sad chord progression here. It will tell you, okay, try this chord progression, but it will never be able to tell me what Sharonda is doing on the screen. And I've seen Sharonda in a play where Sharonda moved me to tears just by acting. No AI is going to be able, in my opinion, to tell me how to make that happen with music. It can just point me in the right direction, and I know we'll use that tool to augment what I'm already doing.
Well,
Okay.
can I jump in here for a minute?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things that I I'm really close to the development of models, right? And this is more on the really hardcore level of how do you train the models? How do you input the data? How do you set the parameters in order for it to generate the output? And the scary part here, even for me sometimes, is the reality of our human existence, that it literally is programmable, right? There are aspects of our human existence that you can program and determine the output, and almost to the point where it is indistinguishable from whether our human has done it or not. We're almost there right now, right? So we've all seen Sora, and Sora is like, yeah, it's it still has some issues. But if you look at where we were like 11 months ago and where we are today, it's night and day. And I always go to this particular futurist. I'm sure you'll appreciate this, Mike Johns, Ray Kurzweil, right? He is one of the leading thought minds on AI, and he talks about how quickly AI is going to change, right? So we're normally used to things being very sequential, right? Things change. Takes a year to develop something, so we think to develop the same thing, it's going to take another year. That's not the case with technology, and it's absolutely not the case with AI. So you're talking about things are happening 2 to 3 times faster than they have in the past, and they're progressively and basically exponentially getting faster. So what we think is human and what we think is unique to us is not going to be so unique to us in the short future. And I think people are, Wentworth mentioned something about capitalism. And I think when we come up against our ability to create something that is authentic, that takes 2 weeks to create, and I can do it in 5 minutes, and it's 98% of the way there. From a capitalist perspective, how does that really, stand up against your, creative aspirations? I'm an artist as well, so I get it, right? I don't want someone to go create a painting for me, but now I think the pleasure out of it is going to, and the purpose of it is going to change. And my viewpoint has always been that AI is going to change humanity in the ways that it's going to really allow us to start looking at our purpose very differently. But it is going to change, and it's going to get better and as good as we are at the things that we do.
All right. So I know that this conversation, we can probably have like a 3-part to this. But I also know that Justine is here to speak specifically to the Screen Fund, and she can't stay with it all night. So I'm gonna direct. Oh dear, and I guess you guys stay with me longer. She'll be back. In the meantime, as she comes back, I know, right? In the meantime, as she comes back, it was a really good segue. I know that Kevin and Andre wanted to jump in and make a couple points. So I'll give you the opportunity to do that until Justine rejoins us. Oh, never mind, guys. Justine is back.
Every time
Hold your thoughts.
Every time
She's
you call
back.
my name,
So-
Sharando, it kicks me off.
That's what we were just laughing at. We were like, oh, that was
I'm a vice. It's the AI,
AI.
don't like my voice when I say
It's
Justine. Yes.
So I've been following.
So the main focus of this really is to talk about AI.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. I think there's a little bit of delay. So go ahead, Justine. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been following the conversation. Of course, AI is on my mind as it is on everybody else's. My major concern about AI is protecting IP, protecting everybody's intellectual property is my number one concern. And I'm going to use that to segue into the Film Fund conversation. Because Jamaica Screen Development Initiative, JSDI, which is AKA our Jamaican Film Fund, which we've just launched, which is, somebody said $1 million. It's not $1 million, it's $1 billion with a B, dollars Jamaican that we are going to be distributing. And one of the things that is absolutely essential if you're applying to the fund is being able to prove that you have the right to create whatever it is you want to apply to the fund for, whether that is a short film, a documentary, a feature film, a series. It is essential that you have the right. So if you are going to use AI to create it, that's fine, but you cannot use someone else's name, likeness, an image to do so without their permission. And I think that the safeguards for me as somebody who, creates and has IP, that's my big concern about AI is how are we going to make sure that people's IP is not misused. And I know in terms of JSDI, we're going to be the evaluators are going to be very vigilant in terms of making sure that people have the rights, that they have a chain of title, that they have a shopping agreement, that they have some piece of paper signed that says they have the right to pursue a certain project. So I just wanted to put that out there in terms of the AI conversation. I'm speaking about JSDI because our fabulous film commissioner is actually in Canada right now. So she wasn't able to be on this. So I'm speaking as I sit on the oversight committee and also on the stakeholders committee. And we want people, Jamaicans at home and abroad. Once you're over 18 and Jamaican, it doesn't matter where you happen to reside, you can apply to the Film Fund. And there are different levels of benchmark in terms of if you're applying for development, if you're a first-time writer, if you're developing something and you're doing this for the first time, you're not going to be discriminated against as if you are somebody who's asking for $30 million to make a feature film. So I want people to be very clear that there are different pots of money. There's development funding, production funding, completion funding, market attendance, distribution, and then rebate. And we want to spread the word, like I said, to Jamaicans at home and overseas in the diaspora, that this fund is available, you can apply, and it is absolutely a developmental fund. I know I kind of went off there, Sharando, but that's where I'd start.
No. That's all right, man. Go right ahead. Because what is important, I would know we're gonna connect both of them, as in how AI can help you to actually access the fund. But it is also important for our viewers to have an understanding as to what the fund is about. So making it clear that, you know, you need to be Jamaican, or at least you need to be connected to have a percentage. A Jamaican has to have, what is it, 60%? A 60% stake in it?
51.
How much
51.
is it? 64?
51.
Right?
Majority.
51% stake in it. And also that you can apply at various stages and for different media is absolutely important to know. What's the website that they can actually go to get more information?
It is the JAMPRO website, but if you just put in dobusinessjamaica.com and look for JSDI, you will find the guidelines. And applications are now open, and they close at the end of this month. They close April 28th. So that is why we are anxious for people to know that the fund is open, but closes in a few weeks.
I promise you don't have to worry.
About how much
there's enough of us to apply. Sorry, so who's speaking? Wentworth, is that you?
No, it's just Charles. I was just wanted to find out the amounts. Like, so how, you know, how much money can people get, right? For their films.
So if you go to the website, it's all there laid out, because I'm not going to go through each section, because there are loans and grants, and there are different amounts for development versus production versus completion, right? So for example, in development, there are grants for $5,000 US. For production, there's a grant of $30,000 US. For completion, that's another pot of money. You are able to do multiple applications. So for example, if you are someone who has something at a completion stage plus a production stage plus a development stage, you can do separate applications. You can also potentially have a project that you get funding from development. You then pay that funding back so that you get production money. You pay that back, you get completion money, and so on. So you can take one project from the beginning to the end through the fund.
Okay, awesome. Now, my big question now is to, to Charles, to Mike, to Wentworth, Kevin, whichever of you guys can answer this. We need to merge the two. We're married something this evening. So we get the general idea as to what the Screen Development Initiative, aka Screen Fund, is about and what it can do for Jamaican filmmakers and ultimately the Jamaican film industry. So how are we going to marry AI and the application or the access to the film fund? How do we do that? How we use this thing where the whole are with Frader, or apparently I'm one Frader, to help us to get access to this?
I have a burning point.
Sure, go ahead, Shauna.
Okay, go ahead. Shauna is on fire.
So I was gonna say, and thank you, Justine, for that breakdown of the Jamaica Film Fund. But how to tie that into the use of AI is Justine said something that was key, which is where the loophole that I talked about earlier exists. So currently, as the Film Fund says, if you can prove that you have the right to create that particular image, then that is the safeguard to ensure that for the Jamaica Film Fund to protect and put some kind of safeguard in place for the protection of IP. However, when you're talking about AI, going back to what we talked about, the creation of the employment-based digital replica of an individual or a human performer or a non-human performer, I can go, if I work using AI, I can ask the AI to create, say, a dance hall style scene that uses...
Sorry, Shauna, can you sit forward a little bit? We're not seeing you.
I'm
pretending like I know what the problem is or how to fix it. There you go.
It keeps going in and out. Well,
continue.
No, but what I was saying was, the point was regarding the Jamaica Film Fund using those safeguards in place to protect the IP of marginalized groups. Where you talk about AI, a loophole can exist because I can create a non-human performer. I can create a digital likeness of a human performer, and I have the right to use it. However, it then marginalizes the dancehall scene in this particular example. If I were a production company that needed to have a dancehall scene, say the recreate the great scene in Belly, right, where you have all the entertainers who are in this dancehall space. So that's what 100 background actors that you can use. You can actually use AI. Mr. Smart talked earlier about Sora. You can tell these AI platforms to recreate a scene with you just have AI performers in the background dancing in a dancehall scene. But who then owns that? As what Justine said, they will have the right to have created that image. However, particularly what we're talking about with the use of AI and taking in jobs, it's not necessarily taking job, because for the production side, it then decreased production costs. However, when you're talking about from the performer side, for those background actors, how many jobs are those that are potentially lost? And then who then owns that creation of that AI scene in perpetuity? So then you have persons who can be non-Jamaican who then own a Jamaican style dancehall image, who is able to use that ongoing in perpetuity for as long as they can, as well as they can access these digital funds, these film funds, such as the Jamaica Film Fund, and get that loophole, because they do have the right to create that. But then, to what Wentworth said earlier, as an activist, my job is to say, okay, but how does that affect marginalized groups? How does that affect
But you said,
somebody
Shauna, that
downtown who needed that job?
but you said a foreigner could do that. We're not funding, we're not, it would need to be a Jamaican creator. And yes, a
Who
Jamaican
has
creator
51%.
could use, a Jamaican creator can use AI, but they cannot take that scene from Belly and just splice it in the background of their film. Can they use AI to generate extras? Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be doing that to reduce production costs. And I don't see how the fund could exclude that. It would be keeping, I think if the fund tried to exclude AI, we'd be keeping the fund in the dark ages very quickly. So it is, like I said, it's walking that line between making sure we protect IP, but moving into the future and making sure that we are investing in skills for the future.
But then that takes us back to the conversation about oh, I'm sorry, these guys are burning. Go ahead, Andre. I'll come back to
I think one of the important things I wanted to discuss is that from a lot of the understanding about AI is that AI cannot be copywritten because it's an amalgamation of work that already exists. So you can't own something that is created from something else. And that's one of the biggest things that's coming out of the discussion right now. And I think for Jamaica, that's important because at the end of the day, we're in an industry that technology always comes in, always removes jobs and adds jobs, always looking for new voices. So there's a statement that I love, and we see it all the time, where real life is better than fiction. AI cannot, as well, Charles has said something different, but I think there's something that is genuinely unique with the human experience that right now AI cannot recreate. And with the infinite probability that an AI can create, I still don't think it can generate what a human can generate and reproduce. But at the end of the day, it's important. And another thing is that what Wentworth says is about capitalism. Capitalism always protects itself. So if you generate a song with Movada's voice that isn't Movada, you can't put that on iTunes because I 100% promise you that Movada's record company is going to come and get that removed. the producers, studios, they're always gonna protect themselves. So if you take a scene from Belly and you put that on a streaming platform, I'm 100% sure they're gonna get that project removed. So that is one of my things with AI that I'm watching right now, because capitalism will always protect itself. We see it in science. I was a med student. Science, you can't steal people's ideas. You can build on it, but you have to give what's it called, you have
Credit.
to give credit to the person. And if you're going to monetize that, you're not going to be able to. So that's where I want to see how AI can change that, or
And
how AI can affect, will get around that, because I don't see it happening.
I'm a,
Can I just make
can
a
I jump
point
in?
of clarification? I didn't mean to indicate that using the exact scene from Belly. I meant recreating a dancehall scene. How many film productions, the music and dancehall surrounds Jamaican film. So how many future films will need to use or create a dancehall scene? I just meant similar to, not to use the exact image. So yes, you're correct. They would be against copyright issues if they were to use the exact scene. But AI can create an independent dancehall scene.
Yeah.
And then when they then use that to move forward, they own that image. They don't necessarily need to come back to Jamaica to use our background actors, to use our dancers, because the AI then learns the intelligence of how to recreate that scene continually. And they actually own that. So what Justine was saying earlier, to access funds, which is what a lot of the production companies, are trying to do, to try to say, okay, how can we protect IP? But essentially, these loopholes happen where filmmakers can say, yes, I have the right to create this image.
Right.
The
As
question is, does it
Charles,
marginalize the group?
Charles, you can clarify this, because from my understanding, AI only takes from what already exists. So I
No,
don't
yeah.
think.
So
but let me.
this is
Remember,
where the rubber hits the road, right? So AI is evolving, right? It's evolving. I won't go into the technical aspects of it here, but generative AI is the key thing that we're talking about today, right? Artificial intelligence and deep learning and machine learning has existed for some time, right? Your Siri, and it's programmatic, right? But it doesn't necessarily generate new content. Generative AI is the area that we're in, right? It's the evolution that's really creating all of this change. And that part of it is where it can now generate things, right, that we may not even have thought about, right? Literally by us asking it. Because it could, whatever we can imagine or whatever we can't imagine, it can generate. And that component of it, yes, it is trained based on the data that we provided it. But because it's like, I'll take it like this. Each of us in here have individual skills. We have individual experiences, individual knowledge that we've gained over the time that we've been alive. AI could take all of our collective experience, all of our collective knowledge, and I could be Julie Mango and Sharondo and Andre and Shauna, right? And I could say, hey, generate a image that kind of amalgamates all of these people, right? And brings them all together, right? And that is the power of the generative component of AI, which completely changes the narrative about what it's able to create. Because now you, Andre, might only be able to create something that you can conceive based on your experiences. Now, with the knowledge that AI has, it's going to be able to create content based on our collective knowledge, our collective experiences, and create something that you probably couldn't think about. And I want to just kind of point that out. And that particular um, um, capability of artificial intelligence and to train data is what makes this so scary, because it is doing that now, but it's also now able to take the data that it creates and use that data as new input. So now the image of all of us that it created and whatever it generated using all of our information can now become input, which is not input that was ours. It was input that it generated that it is now using as its own input, and that continues infinitely. But we're not talking about 10 people. We're talking about billions and billions and trillions of data points. So I want to just kind of set the stage there in terms of the capability of this tool. But I want to come back and kind of bring it down to more practical levels and talk about the film fund,
Right.
how you could use it there, right?
Yeah, that's what I want to bring it back to.
Right.
So
exactly what Charles just said, exactly what you just said is exactly what I was just saying on a higher technical level.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's definitely scary. There's no doubt about it. But one of the things, and I'm only going to make this point quickly because I want to get into how we can use it for the film fund. Bear in mind, like what you're saying, Shauna, about recreating a dancehall scene. We already do that without AI. When somebody goes and says, "Oh, I want a Jamaican dancehall scene for this particular scene," we go and we look up reference images. We go and look at other people's images. What does a dancehall scene look like? And then we start to recreate that. Even with the Bob Marley film, they're creating the past. They're looking at old pictures. What sign was there? What did this house look like? What did this, And I mean, are we going to look at that and go, hey, they stole that from that picture, or they stole this from, No, they're recreating something to make it feel authentic. And we do that all the time. Even as animators, if someone says to me they want me to create a Jamaican market, I will be going online, looking at pictures and going, okay, so we have the cart man, we have this, we have that. All right, let me add those things in. AI is just doing that for me much quicker, right? So it's pretty much the same thing. Anyway, in terms of how to use it for the film fund, for me, I'll tell you how I plan to use it, and somebody else can jump in with what they plan. But for me, on one hand, I'm using it to create to help with my pitch deck, because I know one of the strongest points of a pitch deck, besides the wording, is the imagery that you use, the mood board. And, a lot of times, if the mood board does not reflect the look and feel that you want, people might be sort of aloof about what you're trying to accomplish. So, people spend hours upon hours on shot deck or looking through other people's photography to try, or other people's films to try to find an image that matches what they have in their head. And they'll put that in their pitch deck, right? These are stills from other people's movies many of the times. But the thing is, you could spend hours upon hours, days upon days searching for something and still not quite find the image, the composition you want. So I may be using AI to actually generate images that will give the look and feel that I want, give the composition that I want, etc., to help me fill out this deck so that the deck impresses people visually. Another way that I might be using it is to help me with budgeting. Yes, budgeted films before, but I'm not a big line producer expert. There are certain things that I may not know how to justify, and I may be using AI to say, hey, I'm creating a film, applying for this fund, blah, 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 blah. I need to create a budget. I have X amount of characters in it. I have X amount of locations, blah, blah, blah. What would a budget like this? What would a realistic budget like this look like? And I would ask it that simply because I'm filmmaking in a Jamaican space many, many times very run and gun, or many, many times very, what's the word when you're filming, with very, very little money?
A shoestring budget?
Micro budget, non-existent budget, call family and friends.
Yeah, guerrilla filmmaking
Guerrilla.
style. So
Okay.
a lot of times, and everybody here knows this, a lot of times you beg somebody to help you out. So they will be like, okay, I'll work for less than what I normally work for, right? And everybody is chipping in. So at the end of the day, you don't really fully have a good grasp of what the budget is unless you decide to, jot down the actual real costs and then, have that as a side note and so on. But, that will kind of help me with the budgeting or fast track the budgeting, etc. So those are two ways I plan to use it. I don't really plan to use it for the script writing because I enjoy script writing. And one thing an animation expert said to me was he's going to embrace AI, but he wants to use AI for the tasks he doesn't want to do, the tasks he doesn't have time for. And that's how I am. I love script writing, so I'm not going to use it to write a script for me. Maybe I might say, hey, interrogate the scene. I don't really feel good about how it's worded. Could you suggest some things to me? And it will suggest. And the thing about AI, and this is the last point I'll make, is that my prediction is that even though AI is going to be generating a lot of things on its own, at a certain point, its responses are still going to feel a little bit generic. They're going to still be unique, but they're going to feel generic. And I can tell you, as a teacher, I'm teaching a film production program at UWI, and I gave them an assignment the other day, and I said to them, hey, you know what? You can use AI to assist you with sentence structure and that sort of thing, but not to do the assignment for you. And in reading through the 25 assignments, about 17 of them, all of the introductions started the exact same. All of them. And I was like, wow, everybody went to the same high school because everybody started the exact same. The first paragraph was literally 90% of the words were exact. And I was like, okay, AI did all of this for sure. But
So I think there are a few things to consider when applying for the fund and beyond. Is like Kevin said, you can choose what you use AI to do. My son is in upper 6, and he sees me using ChatGPT to do certain things in office, and he's like, "But mommy, you're cheating." You know, and I thought it interesting because I thought their generation would be the one to jump on it. But I said to him, no, I'm not using it to do my work. I use it to enhance what I'm doing. So if you just use it to, okay, write an article on darkness in Montego Bay, and then you take everything that it says and you just publish that article as your own work. As far as me concerned, that's not your work. That's plagiarism, whether you write it, right? But if you take that and you break it down and use it as a starting point for what it is you want, because sometimes the biggest challenge for writers is writer's block. So you're sitting in a place where you have an idea, you want to write about mango or Julie Mango. Julia did it? Yeah. You want to write about Julie Mango, the fruit, not the person. And then you can't come up with a storyline necessarily, but you can use AI to help to generate. We're talking about generative AI. We can use AI to help generate some ideas. And then you go, oh, all right, I like that one. Or I like these 3. Let me see how I can combine these 3. So again, it's about how we use it to help us. But to kind of pull the reins back, because again, it is very easy for us to, gallop away. Wentworth, are you with us? Your camera gone dark. I just want to know if you're there.
Yes, man. Because it's dark. I'm almost home though, so.
Okay, all right.
I'll
give you an opportunity to get home then.
But
okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But I hear the conversations about AI, and I'm going to speak from a more technical point of view than just as a filmmaker. All right. So my background originally was programming, so I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time in software development, and so I'm very much aware of.
Is it just me, or is he gone?
No, he's gone.
All right, Wentworth. I'll give you an opportunity to get home so you can speak a little bit more clearly. I want to come back to Kevin. I heard you. You'll use it for pitch decks. And your animator friends say use it for the things I'm no want to do, and I can work with that. But Justine, you mentioned earlier about IP. How do I prove to you that this is my intellectual property when I'm applying for the fund? You don't know where I get it from. You don't know what I use to generate it. You don't know. How do you know that this is not something generated elsewhere or by something else or somebody else? How do I prove that this is mine?
Some instances, so train.
No, yeah. Go ahead, Justine.
Right. So basically, one of the jobs that our evaluators are going to do is to track your legitimacy of your IP, right? So there are certain things that are going to be in public domain. If you're writing a story about Nanny or the Maroons, that's fine. If you're writing a story about Beyonce, chances are you don't have the rights. unless we have a letter from Beyonce saying, yeah, man, Sharonda can play me tomorrow. It's all good, right? So there are certain things that is going to be very obvious, right? But if you have asked AI to help you write a short film about Julie Mangoes, the fruit, not the person, that is your idea. If you've asked it to write about the person, she has to give you a letter saying that you have that right. So and there will have to be paperwork to back that up. So that is and the evaluators are going to look at that, like I said, very carefully.
Okay, that's awesome. So I'm going to give Wentworth time to settle at home and come back to him because I know he's very technical. I'm in a group with him and Kevin and some other filmmakers, and sometimes something when we hear them are talking, I'm like, me don't know what them are talking about. So I'm very curious when he comes back to talk about the DCTL and all of that. Oh no, rest I know we know what I'm talking about. This just the actors. But in the meantime, outside of using, let's say, ChatGPT and using the other AI function to do like your pitch decks and whatnot, how else, and Mike and Charles, I'll toss this at you guys, how else can we engage AI to assist us when we are actually applying for this particular fund or any other fund for that matter?
Well, I think there are tons of ways to do it, right? I believe it is in the filmmaking process, whether you're trying to come up with an idea or you're trying to write your script or you're trying to figure out what your scenes are going to look like. There are a bunch, of course, ChatGPT and some other AI tools I'll point out are like Claude are great for generating content. I want to say one thing, however, the output of these generative AI tools is as good as your prompt, right? You can't just go in and ask it, all right, give me an idea for our film. You have to give it more context. You have to give it background. You have to really contextualize it so that it understands what you're asking for in order. So Kevin, the reason that all of those papers came back the same way is because they just didn't prompt well, right? Now, there are a number of other tools that you can leverage, even on the editing side, right? AI, because it's able to also look at your language, right? So because it can listen to something. So let's just say you record something and you are doing a documentary, and you do a long documentary. You just want to figure out, okay, I just want to get the meat and the crux of this. I don't want to go through the entire footage. Let me just get the, audio of this, analyze this, look at it, figure out what the best pieces are, and take that part of the content. So there are tools out there, like Descript, that will help you to do that kind of stuff very quickly in editing your films and finding the content actually that matters. So it's not just finding the content, but it's finding the pieces that are really useful. And it goes all the way through. Sharonda spoke earlier about, the voice, right? So any of us, our voices, right? You might want to record something and you might want to use somebody's voice, but the person may have said something incorrectly in the script or didn't read it a particular way. You can literally change it in seconds and it can sound exactly like the person by training the person's voice. And so some of those licensing issues that Shauna talked about will come into play, as we think about how we leverage those things going forward. Of course, talked about the Obado song and people using people's likeness of voices, but those things are going to become realities, right? In the way that, and I always go back to capitalism, right? In how things that's going to really drive the way things happen. So as you're thinking about the film fund, and I'm going to just use this moment as a plug, right? So talk about, we're actually doing a workshop coming up, by the way. And the workshop is going to be this weekend. There's a top left-hand corner, there's a QR code there. But it's a workshop that's going to basically walk everybody through how you can create a movie from start to finish using AI, right? I know Mike, I know Andre might not like that. I'm sorry. But it's going to show you literally everything from, how do you write your script? You have an idea. How do I flesh that out? How do you get your scenes right? How do you get your acts together? How do you, do you figure out what equipment you need to use? I mean, the entire thing, right? And we're going to show people how to do that all the way through to creating the content and, short of Sora, of course. And Sora is one of those things that I think the only reason that we don't have it today is simply because of elections in the United States happening this year and the significance of the impact of what that could mean if that was released today. But there are models currently existing that people can download on their computers and train and create content that you would not be able to differentiate. And so there are tons of ways that, you can literally create a movie today that almost looks like it was filmed, because of AI. And I go back to say that things are moving fast. So the change and the time frame in which the change is happening, so it might look a little bit dodgy today in certain areas, but I guarantee a year from now, it is not going to be anything like what it looks like today. So I'll jump in and let Julie Mango jump in. I hear your hand up.
Right. I see your hand up, Julie, but I know that Mike has to leave in the next couple of minutes, even though we're only on for another 4 minutes. So I Mike wanted to share something. So just share, Mike, and then I'll pull Julie in, and then I'll have final thoughts. Guys, it's almost an hour and a half. Want to see how time fly when I'm having fun? Yes, go ahead, Mike.
I'll just say a couple of things. Big up, Charles. I like everything that you said, especially when you reference Futurist Ray. The word that you left out was singularity, and that's the bigger play there. Everybody should know that the next 10 years is more important than the last 100. So when we talk about education, lock and load right there. What hasn't been covered in this conversation, and it's very important, is the new customer, the new fan. And I like to start maybe by saying it this way: when we looked at the DJ business in the music business, once upon a time, I know especially in the US, it was vinyl DJs versus MP3 DJs. And you're not a real DJ if you're using MP3 computer this versus the DJ. We could talk about the sound system. That was trying to test the authenticity of the DJ fraternity. Neither the DJ, the person that they left out was the person that goes to the club. I just wanted to go to the club after working my 40-hour work week or whatever and go have a red stripe and have fun. Didn't care whether it was vinyl or MP3. I'm already involved in projects right now, and I definitely want to link with you, Charles, afterwards, where this workshop that you're talking about, no one's talking about the fan. Everybody on this call is seeing YouTube, and now you are into the YouTube shorts. That's already messing with your mind already because your attention span is just further diminishing. So right now for AI, it's very easy to make 1-2 minute clips with AI versus the full featured film. And we're already getting engaged there. We're in a world where I think it's synthetic writing, synthetic images, synthetic videos, synthetic media, synthetic humans, and definitely synthetic friends. You're already seeing that right now in your social media communities. The last thing that I'll say or two last points. Everybody's been talking about IP, but I want you heard it here first from Mike Johns. Write this down. Don't worry about IP. In the next 5 years, AI will replace the IP. So while you're talking this here shit right now, AI already got another plan for you. So be clear. Holler at me at mikejohns.ceo, digitalmindstate.com, Westside Gang Gang.
Not West Side.
Yes. West Indies and LA. How about that?
That sounds better.
Yes, all day. So I wanted, what Charles is saying, you guys really need that. We all need that. And really the grander picture is this, why I really got involved with this is because from Jamaica to the world, the same issue is pressing again. Jollywood, Nollywood. I'm heavy in Atlanta where the black film capital is. And the same story. The education component is real across the damn board. Dig what I'm saying, and what I'm saying, can you dig it? So it's really level up, and the golden jewel of this for
absolutely
country of Jamaica is really to be able, those who sit at the forefront. Kevin, I definitely would love to connect with you as well, because if where you sit, I know certain people in different offices, because you can now use the intel of what EU, what America has done, what Asia is doing to create your own laws that become the standard that other people will reflect. Because it's no longer about competition, it's about collaborations. No one has it figured out, and I think the motherland Jamaica could be the first to figure it out and disrupt. The same way Hussein Bolts did it is the same way we could do it in the film industry, and what we got to do in the music industry. So I'm here to support. We stay active, and that's it. Any questions? I'm here.
Yeah, 100% behind the collaborative effort. And that's one of the reasons why when I had the conversation with Charles regarding the AI filmmaking workshop, we decided to start at home. Because even though he lives outside of Jamaica Yard, so if we can find a way to give us the advantage by starting with the education, so we no longer are afraid of the technology, but we embrace the technology and understand how to use the technology to leverage ourselves and our efforts, then we absolutely can be ahead of the game. So that's really the point of the workshop and, of course, of this conversation. Thank you for sharing that, Mike. I appreciate that. Julie, I know you're burning. Then I want to hear from Wentworth, and then I'll have wrap-up thoughts because we're over our hour and a half.
Yeah, this is basically just a wrap up. I want to underscore a very nice, lovely point that Mike made, that we don't have to be worried about IP for in the next 5 years it won't be a thing. And Andre was alluding to it a little bit earlier, so I'm really glad someone said it. To answer the question, there was a question going around like, how can persons applying for the fund use this whole AI thing? When I was 9 years old, we had a project to do to talk about Charlie Brown. You had two encyclopedias, Charlie Brown Encyclopedia and Britannica. Those were competing encyclopedias. And for me to write a project at 9 years old, I had to go in the encyclopedia and search, and I spent weeks on a lampshade and studying and stuff like that. All AI does, it replaces that. It replaces those things, but you still have to go through the information and make sure it applies to you. And so, for example, when the backhoe just came out, that's a mechanical equipment. So you have the backhoe, and what it replaced was the man with the hoe. Now, did they say, oh my gosh, we don't know how to use the backhoe? No, they trained people to use the backhoe. So the same man that used the man-held hoe was trained to use the backhoe machine. So likewise, persons need to be trained to use ChatGPT. Mark it down 10. In the next couple of months, you're going to have courses. How do you use ChatGPT? Oh my God, I bet you're going to see some YouTube ads with people making money, making courses on how to use ChatGPT. So with the teacher who had the 100 persons, I don't remember the name, where the students probably put it, no, Kevin was somebody saying something else. Kevin was saying it's because they all put in the same, thanks, Kevin, the ads already. Right. Kevin was saying that because everybody was searching for the same topic, they entered the topic the same way, and so the computer will spit out the same. You see why the computer not going to replace nobody's jobs? The computer will spit out the same information. No, what people have to learn is how to learn to use this AI technology. So if there are courses there that will teach people how to use the ChatGPT, how to use Sora, then that is what will help. In terms of applying for the film fund, it's just for persons to know how to enter the prompts properly, to provide a good proposal, to write a good script. They have to know how to use the technology. The technology is there to help, but somebody needs to teach people how to use it, just like how you needed someone to teach someone how to use a backhoe. And I think that's it. Yes.
Good point. Good point. Just shout out in the chat, you have Johnny Johnson, Andrea Davis, and some others with some really good points that you guys should also take note. I see that we got a really conscious audience out there as well, and I just want to big them up.
Yeah, and they're all Jamaicans, mind you, and a few of them are people I know. So this is another reason why I continue to say, if we are able to knock heads, so to speak, I mean, just in this group, in this forum, in this space, we can figure out how to be thought leaders. We can figure out how to drive this industry forward from our little but with Talawa Island, if you will. But it's really a matter of connecting and picking on brains like these, because each and every one of you bring a very unique perspective, and finding a way to put that together to make something happen really does put us ahead of the game. Wentworth, I've been meaning to ask you, we're over time now, and I'm just begging a little wrap-up opportunity, but I've been meaning to talk to you a little bit more about, from the perspective of you being technical, because in the group that we have with me and you and Kevin and others, when you talk about using it for the DCTL and those things, me quiet, when they talk about Gleaner article and so me talk enough, but when they talk about DCTL and Da Vinci and so they keep quiet. So from your perspective, just give us a little piece of that, and then I'll take a wrap up from everybody.
So everybody's hearing me, right?
Yeah, man, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, I'm very sorry that I'm just getting settled and I'm no stationary. So again, I was going to touch on this. Education is going to be the thing that is going to propel AI and its usage amongst our people, and even for the film industry that I'm very much involved in. A lot of persons aren't, they are getting. Some of them are using AI. They don't even know they're using AI. No, in the circle that I operate in, I'm a cinematographer by day, and by night I am other things. So I had said before I got cut off that initially I started off in programming. I was a programmer before, so I spent a lot of time doing programming before I got into film. No, and I so AI has been something that I've been following for years. When we were talking about using AI had machine learning and all of this, and machine learning, of course, is a subset of AI, for those who don't know. And then they started adding little things in software. Now these software that we're using, for example, in film, they are they are able to do things that editors know from back in the day who did real to real would know. They'll just sit and like with their mouth open, like what? Because everything is so far ahead. Juliet spoke about being able to put her face on her money. I remember that skit, and it and it worked. She was able to do that, and she just with some touch and some click, and this thing fired up, and it was working. And the person's watching it, they're not thinking for a second how she should do this. They're just finding it very interesting that she's on the money and she's created this content that is creating this, creating crazy comedy, and everybody is happy.
Yeah, me angle AI, me angle AI.
You angle it, triangle it.
And that's the thing. You see, all right, and that's the thing about AI, using it until it becomes invisible. This, you realize how just through her usage of it, it's just another thing that was used. Now, how do we introduce this to everybody so that everybody can understand that this is the way that we want to use AI? This is the way that we want to do it. I have kids around me who are like, oh, look at this uncle, or look at this dad. I just edited this. And all they did was move around a few things. And then AI is also helping them to cut to the music. And they're doing it. And it's already just a thing for them. And they're talking to Siri every day. And they are just asking, because for them it's regular, it's normal to have Siri. I'm like, I didn't have any Siri to talk to. I have to go outside, go talk to my friend and walk 5 houses up the road, go talk to somebody. I don't.
We had Mr. Farkas, the old neighbor across the road with the dogs.
So no, this becomes a regular part of our lives, and we have to introduce it that way, as opposed to introducing it as this big giant that you just plant on Jamaicans and everybody like, oh Lord, what we're going to do? And then it feels like this whole Armageddon, because AI is also used as a fear mongering tool, right? No, and it's kind of it kind of puts me in a place, because now you're like, okay, how do you even begin to tell persons how to do this? Because you already start off bad. I use it daily. Shauna is talking about me being technical. That's what I am. One of the things I'm known for in the film industry, as being the person who's able to probably explain a few things on one, maybe how software work, or how, you may want to get this done, why this camera may work better than this one for this situation versus that situation. And one of the things I also do is I have delved into color science, and now I am coding for color, just for software, for DaVinci Resolve, which is an industry software that they use for color grading. There's a section of it that allows you to create your own plugins that requires raw code, and meaning that you have to write code just to generate that. And what is also happening is that because DaVinci is also equipped with machine learning, which is as again is a subset of AI, we are able to get some amazing results. Now, what I'm doing is a little more complex because that's going right back to mathematics. I'm going back to mathematics that I didn't think I would have any use of. And now I'm using that same mathematics now, and I'm having to be like, okay, spending time. But I'm able to now dial in specific colors. One of my concerns in filmmaking is that I feel like sometimes it's getting better that black skin isn't represented the way it should be represented on screen. That's one of my biggest issues with films overall. And I'm like, how can I fix this? How can I create color tools that goes with the environment in which we shoot in Jamaica? Jamaica is closer to the equator. The camera is not going to look the same as it does in North America because of our distance from the horizon, from the you know, depending on where we are from the equator. The atmosphere change, the air pressure change. Air pressure and atmosphere affects how a camera sensor responds. The heat affects how a camera sensor responds. How can I fix that? And AI has been able to help me to even write codes, to generate codes, to put in the software, to be able to create these plugins to make so that persons may have the ability, because DaVinci Resolve can be a complex software, but what I am doing is will be able to help persons using DaVinci Resolve to just simplify their process in color grading, because it's really expensive to hire colors, right? And it's all a learning process. We used to have problems with, you know, Jamaica is not we don't have a filmmaking culture. So shooting in a community might mean we don't know that, okay, the garbage truck is coming Thursday. We know it's supposed to come Thursday. And say, okay, I'm going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot on Thursday. I'm not going to shoot Friday. No, remember we said Thursday, but you say, all right, cool, they're going to come Thursday. So I'm not going to shoot Thursday because they're going to come and make up nice. It not come Thursday, you're like, all right, I'm going to come this next week Thursday. Friday, you and your shoot going on. And what happened? Whole neighborhood. Now, what does that mean? Something gets sacrificed. So now we have tools in these editing software that will be like, okay, based on machine learning, we know what sounds. It is already trained on different sound models to say, okay, this sound is a sound that is not in the range of a vocal of the vocal frequency. So anything outside of that, eliminate it. So now the garbage truck can come any day it wants, because I can remove that garbage truck sound. Yeah. So, and these are the things that you'd have to pay a sound mixer overseas to get rid of. Yeah. And now we have these tools. DaVinci give a free. It is also free in their. It's also in their free version, and in their paid version, there are other. You understand? So we have AI has come along. Well, for me, I know I've been using it a lot to do a lot of stuff.
In fact, Kelly, if the garbage truck show up in your shot, AI can remove the garbage truck.
If I want to get rid of the garbage shot, I take that out, and if it comes Friday, I can pretend that it was another day of the week, because you're not supposed to be there anyway, and I want to take it out.
Like Kevin was saying at the very beginning, though, what is happening is that AI is now leveraging the playing field, particularly for industries like ours, who are not so advanced and who don't necessarily have all the effects and the studios and whatnot that we'd like to have. Very quickly, Wentworth, I need to wrap up because it's what now? Yeah. We're running into 2 hours. Yeah.
I was just saying that is just final thing, and that's the basis of all I'm saying, that the tools that we now have in our hands, for me as a very, very technical person, for me to be able to do what I can do to also help other persons in the industry, and also just for persons who they want to take their work to the next level. And one of our biggest problem, for example, in this case, is storytelling and just how we structure scripts and all of that. And we have different models, because people just think about AI and think about, oh, ChatGPT. There are so many models. I'm using Google Gemini now, and I wish we had time, because Gemini is another thing that a lot of persons, if they think ChatGPT is really great, you wait till they try Gemini.
Go ahead.
And Gemini.
Finish. Finish.
So yeah, and that's Google Gemini for anybody who haven't tried it. Go try it out. Trust me.
Yeah, so this is some of the stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry, hon. I thought you were done. Real quick.
No. So I'm just saying that the excuses now become limited, because we have the power in our hands, because of the possibilities that are now placed before us because of AI. So our limitations are not necessarily limitations anymore. And by the way, AI does not get rid of thinkers. You need thinkers to use AI. If you're going to get a prompt that makes sense, you need persons who are thinking to be able to ask, because whatever you ask, that's what it's going to tell you. If you want something that is deep, you're going to have to ask deep questions. So AI doesn't take away your ability to think. It actually needs you to think to know what you're going to ask and your request. I know, I wish we had more time, but yeah, that's it for me right now.
Yeah, I know. Yes, you spend half of your time in IKEA, but and a lot of our panelists have to go, because we did budget for an hour and a half. So what I will do is I will just ask of the other 5 folks, just very quickly give us a final thought. I'll wrap up, and then we'll take it from there. Kevin, do you want to go first, please?
Yeah, I just want to say that, like everybody's been saying, the sentiment is the same, that, we shouldn't be afraid of it. Of course, there are definitely concerns. Of course, some jobs are going to be lost, like anytime technology changes, but it's going to create new jobs. And we just have to, the reason why we have to learn how to use AI is because we need to figure out how we're going to use it in the future, right? I know actors are worried about it, writers are worried about it, but it's something I learned recently was, instead of saying we have a problem, start your sentence by saying we have an opportunity. And when you start thinking in that way, it changes the picture, because one of the things that a lot of us are looking at is, oh my God, AI can write a script now, so the AI going to take on my job and XYZ. One of the things you don't realize is that the production companies are using AI to evaluate your scripts, right? So if production companies are using AI to have an edge so that they can get through more scripts and root out bad scripts, then you're going to need to use AI to help you get through the door, right? And the thing is, don't feel as if, boy, it's going to take away the experience from you either, because at the end of the day, there's always that anomaly that exists, where human beings come up with some strange things. Like the example I always use is the movie Barbarian. Nobody thought that was going to be a hit. That script got turned down by 10 studios because the structure of it was just horribly wrong. I watched the movie and I was like, the structure of this is really, really wrong. It resonated with audiences, right? Because audiences' minds change all the time. So, there's still space for human beings, but don't look at AI as something that's going to replace you. Look at AI in terms of, okay, what can I use it to do to make my job more efficient, or where is it going that I can apply my skills, using AI. We just have to just let go of the old way of doing things and just know that there's going to be a new way of doing things when AI takes over.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. Thanks. Dr. Andre.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can speak from the point of view of music. And I think probably I'm biased, but I think music is probably the most powerful way of telling a story. It's the most primitive, it's the most deeply guttural, and it's the most lived human experience for the past couple of centuries and probably beyond. I firmly believe, as I said earlier, that what we're doing here is not filmmaking, but rather storytelling. And I think Jamaicans have a unique opportunity to capitalize on that, because we come from a long line of storytellers. Oral tradition is a major part of our culture. Music and communication via music is a major part of our culture. And I think we need to harness the opportunity now to, as I think Kevin said, to become more efficient at our storytelling using AI, rather than being intimidated by it when it's really just a tool.
Lovely. Shauna, final thoughts?
Well, I just want to echo the sentiments that absolutely AI certainly has great opportunities. For me, I think the importance here is to ensure that we are utilizing things that are already in place, such as California Assembly Bill 459, such as, in SAG-AFTRA contract, the employment-based digital replica, those things that are already in place, build upon those to use them to protect marginalized groups. Make sure that we're using AI for the benefits of it, but we're also protecting groups from, some things as, even something as simple as being whitewashed. We had a Taiwanese American model recently was suing a digital company because in using her likeness, then, they kind of made her a little bit more Caucasian than her features were. Wentworth talked earlier about, our black tones are not efficiently portrayed with the use of AI, and we want to make sure that we protect and safeguard those things. So absolutely, definitely, I'm a proponent, supporter of AI. I just want to also make sure that we're using tools to safeguard already marginalized groups.
Appreciate that. I don't think there's enough conversation around that. Andre Winter.
Yeah, to close out, I think this was a very enlightening discussion, lots of viewpoints, and I want to thank you guys for putting this together. Thank you, Shonda, for moderating it. With the future of AI, specifically for Jamaica, I would love to see a very progressive plan put together by the government. I wanted to see prompt engineering being taught in schools from grade 2, grade 1. I want to see the future of Jamaican, the next set of Jamaicans on the forefront, being ready for what the future holds and having the tools needed to do that, not just being left out to learn on their own. And whoever does that, where it doesn't matter about politics or anything like that, it just needs to be done because AI is not going anywhere.
Yeah. And if you're still with us and you're interested in learning a little bit more about AI and how it can affect you in content creation, marketing, filmmaking, and so on, well, there you go. Timely. The code is on screen. You can scan it and hop on, be a part of the workshop come Friday and Saturday. It's in person as well as online. Charles, I'll give you the last word before we wrap up.
Hey, well, I want to thank all of you for joining us for this webinar today. It's timely. This actually is the second workshop that we have done, or webinar that we've done around AI. We did one last year at the onset, just kind of spreading the word, trying to get the Jamaican community to be aware of what's going on. As I think many of you have echoed already, AI is not going anywhere. This is not a new shiny tool. It is not this fad that is going to come and disappear. It is the most transformative thing that we are probably seeing in our lifetime. And we've lived, I've lived through the internet, and we've lived through some other transformations, that we've seen, but I don't think we've seen anything that's going to change every aspect of our lives. And when I say that, I'm not leaving anything out, right? I parent differently because of it. Sharonda came by and we sat down and we're talking, and she's shared some challenges that she was having with the script. And that's kind of how this workshop that we put together came about. And in 30 minutes, we did something and more than what she was looking for. And so, this is really an accelerator, right? And she might vote it same way. But but the reality is that, I want everybody to get on board, and the education is the important part. And that's one of the things that we at MetAIBlock have really taken on, is to focus on making sure that people understand it. It's new. It sounds complicated. It's really techy, right? But it's not. It's really simple to apply. Everybody can use it. Everybody can get ChatGPT. Go figure it out. Go just try it out. See what it does, right? But if you're in the filmmaking, or if you're in the content creation, we have a workshop coming up on this weekend. It's in Jamaica. It's going to be at the Jam Pro headquarters in New Kingston. If you're in Jamaica, highly recommend that you come out. We're going to walk you through how to make a film from ideation all the way through to distribution using AI. And believe it or not, there are tools for every single step of the way. And we're going to walk you through that. So highly recommend, scan that code that's right there to learn more about it. And it's going to be virtual and in person. So if you're not in Jamaica, you're able to attend as well virtually, because we're going to be facilitating that. But Sharondo, thank you for putting this together. And I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Appreciated. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out to be here. For those who had to jump off, really, really appreciate you. And I'm enjoying the energy of Jamaicans who are across the globe, who recognize that we have an opportunity here to do something. I don't hear anybody else talking about an AI in filmmaking workshop of any sort. I was doing a lot of research and it don't exist nowhere else yet. So I'm proud to be a part of this group that has agreed to put this together and to actually sit down in front of our folks and say, look here, the playing field has now been leveled. It is a perfect time for us now to use this to access the Jamaica Screen Development Initiative or the Jamaica Screen Fund. So we have this advantage. Let's use this advantage to step into this space and show them that we can do more than run and make jerk chicken. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Good night. And I look forward to having another one of these. Many, many blessings to you.